Section 2. You will hear a radio broadcast about a renovation project. First, you have some time to read through questions 10 to 13. Now listen carefully and answer questions 10 to 13.
Welcome everyone. Thanks for tuning in to Arts National, the weekly news show focused on the arts community. I'm your host, Adam Easton. Our top story this week is that Auckland will be celebrating the reopening of one of its oldest theatres, widely seen as a push to revive stage entertainment in the city. After a nearly 20-year wait, the famed Queen's Theatre will once again open to audiences. The entertainment structure was originally built in 1857. What was the purpose of the facility at that time? Well, it ran stage plays and, later, movies, as well as live performance. But the theatre was forced to close in 1972 when attendance started dropping. Audiences were staying home and watching television, and the theatre was unable to stay in business. However, there was renewed interest in the historical structure nearly 25 years later when the Auckland Theatre Association, an organisation consisting of Auckland's most renowned theatrical professionals, began petitioning the city to provide a permit for the theatre's renovations. It was granted in 1998, and a local construction crew began work to restore the theatre to its original condition. Progress stalled in 2000 due to a lack of funds, but in 2009, an anonymous donor provided the necessary money to complete the renovations. Efforts recommenced, and the restoration project was finally finished just last month. According to Michelle McCall, director of the Auckland Theatre Association, their hope is that the reopened Queen's Theatre will provide a space for community, creativity, and youth engagement. A special program will be held to celebrate the reopening this coming Saturday, including several short performances by theatrical troupes. And then our first scheduled show, a dramatic play entitled Clear Path Ahead, begins on Monday. Those from the general public who wish to attend the reopening performance may purchase tickets from the Auckland Theatre Association's website or visit the Queen's Theatre box office between the hours of 11 a.m. and 4 p.m. any weekday. Seating is limited, with a maximum capacity of 250 people, so a sold-out event is likely. Advance booking is highly recommended. Head down to the Queen's Theatre next week for one or all of these great events. And don't forget, you can find more about the other plays and performances that are scheduled to appear in the theatre program or online. On our next scheduled show, I will be reporting on a new exhibit at the Museum of Science, so tune in next week for...
You now have 15 seconds to check your answers.
Section 3. You will hear a conversation between two students about a joint presentation of a case study. First, you have some time to read through questions 14 to 18. Now, listen carefully and answer questions 14 to 18.
So, Kate, let's go over the content for our presentation on perceptions of women in executive roles. What will we do first?
Okay, well, first, why don't you introduce the main focus of the case study, James?
Sure, that's fine. And maybe I can also explain why we chose to do our research in only one city. What should I say about that?
Well, it was so that we can compare our study with those done in other locations. We can see if the cultural differences in different places play a role in the outcome.
Yes, it seems that culture made a big difference. We can bring that up in the analysis part of the presentation. And once the introduction is done, I will provide a sample of our survey so that people understand how we approach the topic of women in executive roles. I can offer an explanation of our research methods also.
Sounds good. And next, let's see. If you want, I can present the data we got from the survey. I'll describe how female executives perceived their roles and how other co-workers perceived them. I thought there weren't too many discrepancies between those two viewpoints.
No, I think there were some differences. But one similarity I thought was very interesting was how employees and colleagues of the women we surveyed were so uninterested in the importance, or should I say necessity, of the women's roles. I got the feeling from the data that female executives were seen to have been given
Just token positions, right? Rather than well-deserved roles? I agree. That was especially true among males surveyed, and that should be an important portion of the presentation. You could present the analysis of our findings and include that point. There's quite solid evidence that women are still not taken seriously in the workplace. We like to think that we treat men and women the same, but there certainly is evidence that there are very few female executives in comparison to males.
Right. The relevance of the study is that it gives tangible examples of how we haven't achieved fairness in terms of job opportunities or treatment in the workplace.
And it also points to the underlying social stigma around women and professionalism that society needs to overcome. We have to do a discussion part after the presentation as well, right? Perhaps we can discuss ideas about how businesses can make efforts to create workplaces that promote equality for women.
No, we don't have to. The discussion portion is optional. But I think you're right. I think that would be an excellent topic for those attending the presentation to discuss. Could you be the facilitator for that?
I can do that. Well, it seems that we have everything we need.
You now have 15 seconds to check your answers.